As I mentioned previously, it's very rare that you get to see politicians actually debating, politicians actually defending their ideas. I mean, I don't even know if people like AOC ever debated with a right winger in their entire career, which begs the question, why are politicians paid so much? If you don't have to actually defend your ideas, if you don't have to participate in debates with your opposition, how do you justify the paycheck? Take into account that politicians aren't generating wealth. They are actually taking money away from the taxpayer. They're redistributing wealth from the needy to themselves, as they like to say. So it's really interesting when once every 4 years you actually do get to notice a debate. Right? You have like a presidential debate. And this is what we had with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Now, the results were, and this is me trying to separate myself from any subjective bias and just going online, not just reading the press, but reading different forums, like going on Twitter, going on YouTube comments, even on places like Reddit and other image boards. I just wanted to see like what are people saying after the debate. And it seems that most of the consensus, even from Trump supporters, was that he didn't perform very well. And the official media was claiming Harris as the winner, and they were saying that, look, she is the only politician in human history that doesn't lie. Like, the Americans, through the power of the Democrats, have invented the single person in human history alongside, no, actually, she's not the single. She's alongside Honest Abe, right? So, like, these are the only two politicians that humanity managed to create which don't lie and don't require any fact check. Meanwhile, Trump is a little bit more traditional. Like, look how many lies he said. So this was the vibe after the debate, but it turns out that the more time passes and people on the internet are looking through Kamala Harris's previous videos, they're pointing out that, wow, it seems that ABC News was a little bit slacking. They weren't as competent journalists as they claimed to be, and they missed out on a lot of contradictions, a lot of things that Kamala said in the past, which contradict the things that she said during the debate. You know, maybe they're inexperienced fact checkers. I mean, maybe those moderators just started journalists being like, they're not as good as they claim to be, right? And they just miss stuff that random people on the internet without any additional training, without any superior education are able to find. And this is how the conversation now shifted. It went from Trump debating Kamala with Trump debating the moderators, and Kamala was there. And many people are basically saying that the moderators weren't fair, that they were very aggressive towards Trump while allowing Kamala to slide. There's also claims that there's a whistleblower, which claims that Kamala had access to the questions beforehand, and that the fact checkers would only fact check Donald Trump and not fact check Kamala at all. And the response to this from the left is that, no, you're just coping. You're just coping. Like, obviously, this was the fairest debate in the history of the United States. Donald Trump has absolutely nothing to complain about. So now what's happening is people are using AI technology, right? Because one of the things that leftists like to do is to gaslight, is to convince yourself that you're the crazy one. Like, no, do not trust what you saw. Do not trust your senses. The debate was perfectly fine. This is what normal people think. What weirdos think is that the moderators were biased. So anyone can do this now. You can just take the debate transcripts if you have the time to write it in, or if you go online, I'm pretty sure you can find them somewhere. And you can ask ChatGPT what he thinks about it. Now, why is it important to ask an AI? Because, again, the leftists really hate it when you do that. It's like, oh, you're asking AI. It's like, the AI is dumb. What does the AI know? Well, the AI is a computer-generated software that already has left-leaning biases. But on top of that, it has no reason to lie. Like, it has no horse in this race. It has absolutely no interest in claiming one victor over another. And you're just asking to objectively analyze something, and it also justifies why it analyzed it that way. It doesn't just say, yeah, I think that Kamala Harris won, and leaves it at that. No, like, it will actually try to justify the thought process through which it managed to come up to the conclusion. And what the AI said was quite interesting, because some of the things it noticed, even I didn't catch. Like, for instance, they pointed out that by allowing Kamala Harris to go first, it creates the image that she is the forward thinker, she is the one that comes up with solutions, while Donald Trump coming second, he's the reactionary. He is the one that's trying to be on the defensive. It was like a thing that the AI said that this may not be a bias, but it is something to consider. Other things that he pointed out is when Trump was pressed on January 6th, he said that the job of asking for additional security came to Nancy Pelosi, and the moderator said, well, no, this is not a question about Nancy Pelosi, this is a question about you, and they move on. A clear bias here. And then when Kamala Harris was asked whether or not she thinks that there should be a limit to abortions, she gives like this really vague answer, and she goes on a tangent, and the moderators don't press her on. And ChatGPT noticed that in a lot of situations this happened where Donald Trump was pressed on certain issues while Kamala Harris wasn't pressed on at all when it came to giving vague answers or when it came to fact-checking. So yeah, like ChatGPT itself came up with the conclusion that it was heavily biased. And it's also the concept that you're fact-checking people in real time. Like, what is this shit? I don't remember this happening in the past. Like, usually, and it still happens in my country, when you have a debate between two politicians, the debate just goes as normal as, two people talking at a university. And then after the debate, you have talk shows and you have guests. And in my country, for instance, if this would happen, like you would have Kamala and Trump just talking to each other. And after the debate, you would have various talk shows where they would invite prominent Republicans and prominent Democrats. And you would have the footage being played and they would just have a conversation. This is what would happen in a normal, healthy democracy. But like, when's the last time you saw a talk show where they would get like a Democrat like AOC and a Republican like Ted Cruz that are sitting in a studio, and behind them they get to see the presidential debates and they talk about it and they give their opinions? This just doesn't happen in American society, does it? But anyway, now it makes sense why they insisted on having the debate on ABC News. Because if you guys remember, there was a little bit of controversy regarding this. In the beginning, Trump was like, no, I agreed to debate Joe Biden, but since he doesn't get to show up, let's choose a different place. Like, let's debate it somewhere else. And I think it's because he knew what's going to happen if they're debating it at the ABC News. But Kamala Harris insisted, no, we said the debate, that's when it's going to happen, nowhere else. Because she probably knew about the heavy bias and the perks and the privileges that will be offered to her, including like having a little stadium because Trump is taller than her, and they wanted the image to be made in such a way where she's got like this little podium. Like all sorts of adjustments, specifically designed and tailored for her. This explains why they were so insistent of the debate taking place there and nowhere else. Because like, think about it, if you're interested in actually debating a person, it doesn't really matter where you debate them. You can debate them in the middle of the street. As long as you have the person and you're exchanging opinions, it shouldn't really matter whether it's ABC or Fox News or other places, unless there is a specific bias to be had there. There's a home team advantage, if you will. And this is what Donald Trump was talking about. He's basically saying that, look, it's not fair that I get to debate Joe Biden, and I am the one that was the clear winner, but then they change the candidate during the middle of the race, and they insist on debating in a place where my opponent has all the advantages, the moderators are on their side, and they're fact-checking only me, and they're not fact-checking her, so clearly the moderation was a little bit rigged, which, begs the question, like, why do the Democrats constantly need to do this shit? Like, why can't they just have an honest debate without fact-checkers and anyone, and then after the thing is done, they can have talk shows and, I mean, it's not the era of the VHS tapes where you actually have to record the debates in order to still have them. It's the internet. Like, people can just go back and show you the footage like they're doing now with Kamala Harris. Like, look what she was saying back then. Look what she's saying now. And it's like non-edited footage from the past and the present. You can easily call people out for fact-checking. It's not something that's difficult to accomplish in this day and age. But yeah, no, like, the fact that they just don't want to have an honest game is painfully obvious, especially with Joe Biden. Like, if you are running a campaign, a political campaign, you're obviously going to tailor all the talking points and all of the arguments against your candidate. But if they change the candidate during the middle of the game, well, now you have to change everything again, right? Like, imagine if you're invited to debate Sticks Hexenhammer, and in the last moment they change him and they bring you, I don't know, Nick Fuentes or something. Like, all of your talking points, all of your debate strategy now has to be changed, and it's not fair for the person that's in the game. And I can understand why Trump is upset about it. They don't want to debate on a right-wing network. Like, they don't want to debate on Newsmax. They don't want to debate on Fox News. They only want to debate on places that have a leftist bias. And even the press comes to agree that, yeah, no, CNN, they do have a little bit of a leftist bias. So that's where the debates are having place. And Trump doesn't want to do that anymore. And I can definitely understand. Like, he already debated his opponents, right? He debated Joe Biden. He debated Harris. And what I also noticed is, despite the fact that people claim that Harris won, everyone talks and frames it in the way that Trump behaved. So, like, even the people that are Democrats and they watch the debate, they're like, oh, yeah, well, Trump wasn't performing well. It's like, well, hold on a little bit. Isn't your candidate Harris? Like, you shouldn't just say, wow, I really like how Harris presented herself. I genuinely like when she said such and such, and I genuinely like her policy on X, Y, and Z. They don't talk about that. Instead, what they're like, oh, well, Trump didn't do this, or Trump right, or Trump factored, Trump. Yeah, I think, like, as a politician, if you're going out of a debate and people on both sides of the aisle, they can't stop saying your name, I don't know if that's such a big loss as you're trying to make it out to be. But yeah, all in all, I'm actually disappointed about this because, as I mentioned, I do like to see debates between the left and the right. But unfortunately, if it's not possible, it's not possible. I guess I'll have to wait 4 more years until the next one. Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.